Hey guys, welcome back to Take 10. I'm Maddie, and this is our 6th lesson with Take 10, and we're going to be talking about Chapter 4, Feelings in Conflict. All right, so our icebreaker question for today is, if you won the lottery, what is the first thing you would buy? All right, so just like before, I'm going to have you guys pause the video here and share with your neighbor or the whole group, and then come back after you're done. Okay, so if I won the lottery, the first thing I would buy is a car. My car is pretty old, it's struggling a little bit, so a new car would be really nice. And I would probably get an Audi, like the car in the bottom picture. So yeah, that is my thoughts on this question. Wish I could have heard your guys' answers, but I'm sure you had very cool responses. So we're going to jump right into our review from last time. And so my question for you is, what does it mean to be assertive? So again, I'm going to have you guys pause the video and share your answers, and then come back after you've had a chance to discuss. Okay, so what does it mean to be assertive? Assertive behavior is when you acknowledge the problem and resolve it in a way that is respectful of everyone. Assertive behavior includes standing up for yourself and taking a stand. So I'm sure you guys remember that. We have talked about it the last 2 weeks now, and that's an important part of Take 10. So on that note, let's get started with Chapter 4. So a Take 10 principle that we've talked about so far, and that I want you to remember as we're going through our lesson today, is that every person has the right to feel however they feel. So I'm going to say that one more time. Every person has the right to feel however they feel. Okay, so I just want you guys to remember that as we're going through our discussion today. Okay, so anger. What is anger? I'm not going to make you guys discuss or put answers up on the board, but I just want you to take a minute and think about, what is anger? What are things that cause you to feel angry? What does anger look like? What does anger feel like? And what does anger make you do? How do you respond to anger? So just take a minute and think about the answers to some of those questions. Again, you don't have to share with anyone, just think in your head, what is anger? Okay, so according to Charles Spielberger, anger is an emotional state that varies in intensity from mild irritation to intense fury and rage. So anger, emotional state, and it can vary from slightly being irritated to rage. All right, so we're gonna go a little bit more into anger now. So the first thing that's important to know about anger is that anger is a secondary emotion. So that kind of prompts the question, what is a secondary emotion? So secondary emotions are emotions that you feel in response to another emotion. So often, anger is in response to fear, sadness, insecurity, or frustration. You often feel one of these other feelings first, and that causes you to feel angry. And when a person doesn't know how to deal with their emotions, the individual often feels a loss of control. And when you feel like you don't have control, sometimes a person acts violently. They act violently because they think it's a way to regain control. But often, when you act violently, it only leads to a further loss of control, which causes increased frustration, increased anger. It's positive feedback, it's escalating. Anger often escalates. So, with Take 10, we provide the skills needed to control your emotions and think clearly in conflict. We talk about ways to deal with anger and to avoid it leading to violence. All right, so let's keep going with our discussion on anger. All right, so anger triggers. What makes you angry? Or as this little picture shows on the side, what lights your fuse? What are things that trigger you? So what I want you guys to do is to pause the video here and come up with a list of 5 things that are anger triggers for you. So if you could write them down on a piece of paper, notebook paper, Post-it note, anything like that. Just write down 5 things that make you angry. And you don't have to share this with anyone. So really think about it and write down 5 things. And it can vary. They can be things that mildly irritate you or things that make you go into a rage of fury. Anywhere along that spectrum is fine. So take a few minutes, pause the video, and think of 5 anger triggers, and then come back when you're done. Okay, so now that you've had a chance to come up with some anger triggers of your own, I also took a few minutes and came up with a list of my anger triggers. So I know this is going to be backwards for you, but this is my list, and I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that I said. Things that set me off, things that make me angry. So the first thing I said was chewing with your mouth open. And I also said when someone refuses to compromise or admit when they're wrong. That's something that really irritates me. And then I also said when people don't recognize the hard work I've put in. And then when someone insults my family. And finally, I said car troubles. All right, so that is my list. And hopefully you guys were able to come up with 5 of your own anger triggers. All right, so now I have a little activity for you guys to do. And using the anger triggers, the 5 anger triggers you just came up with, we're going to place each of these anger triggers on this target. So with Take 10, we think this target is a good way to visualize how anger affects you. So things that are mildly irritating, you would put on the outer ring of the target. And things that cause that fury of the rage of fury, that would go in the very center at the bullseye. So it's kind of a spectrum. Things that make you the most angry go in the middle, and things that just make you somewhat angry go on the outside. So I want you to think about, where do your anger triggers fit on this target? So here I have put my anger triggers on the target for where they go for me. So on the outer ring, I have chewing with your mouth open. For me, that's just something that irritates me. It's annoying and it makes me a little mad, but it's nowhere even close to a rage of fury. And then same with car troubles. Car troubles make me angry because they make me feel helpless. I don't really know anything about cars, and when something goes wrong with mine, I feel very much out of control and like there's nothing I can do to fix the problem. So that kind of shows you how anger is a secondary emotion, because my anger at the car troubles first stems from my feeling helpless and out of control. So those two both kind of go on the outside for me. And then in a little bit more is when people refuse to compromise. Makes me a little bit more mad than those other two, but still not as angry as my final 2. So 2 really big anger triggers for me are when someone insults my family, and also when my hard work is not recognized. When someone doesn't recognize my hard work, I just feel underappreciated, and that makes me really angry. So that's how I did with my anger triggers, and I kind of show you how this activity works. So now what I need you guys to do for your activity, we don't have a Google form for today, so this bullseye target activity is just the last thing you guys have to do. So if you were able to print out the bullseye, that's great, and you can just go ahead and write your 5 anger triggers onto the target. If you weren't able to print it out, then I'll just have you guys draw a target on a piece of paper, computer paper, anything like that would work. So once you have your target either drawn or printed, go ahead and write your 5 anger triggers where they go. All right, makes sense? Great. So for next time, we're going to be continuing our discussion of Chapter 4, Feelings in Conflict. So I want you guys to remember the definition of anger triggers, and also if you could think about, why is it important to know your anger triggers? Why is it valuable that we know what these are? Does it matter? So if you guys could think about that for next time, we'll be discussing that more then. And until then, thanks, you guys are great, and have a good week.